Gail's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a no-knead crusty white bread. This recipe makes up to 3 loaves. I'm going to show you how to shape and bake 3 different loaves, how to incorporate add-ins into a loaf. I'm also going to show you how to make one very large loaf from this recipe and put it in a Dutch oven to get a very crusty exterior. It's amazing that you can get this bread from water, flour, a little yeast, and salt. This bread is so easy to make. The first thing we're going to do is measure out 7.5 cups of all-purpose flour, or 900 grams. I always use a scale. I think that just makes measuring it so much easier. So we want 900 grams of all-purpose flour in a large bowl. To this we add 1 tablespoon of salt and 1.5 tablespoons of instant dry yeast. The great thing about instant dry yeast is that it can touch the salt. Salt does not affect the yeast. The last thing we add is 3 cups of lukewarm water, and that does not have to actually be measured with a thermometer. If you can touch the water without saying ouch, that's good enough. I take the end of a wooden spoon and stir this until we get a nice dough. 4 ingredients that you normally have in your pantry, maybe not the yeast, but if you're going to begin bread making, it's easy to get your hands on yeast. I use the SAF Red Label instant dry yeast. You can use a stand mixer for this step. Use the regular blade and mix it for 30 to 60 seconds. That's how our dough should look. Now we're going to transfer this to a well-oiled bowl, and you need about a 5-quart bowl. You can use a plastic bucket. So let's just transfer this with a plastic spatula, works fine here. Now this dough is going to sit at room temperature and rise for 2 hours. It will then go in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. I'm using a well-oiled shower cap, and I'm going to cover this because my bowl is only 4 quarts, but this will give it plenty of expansion space. And we'll be back. Let's take a look at our dough after 2 hours at room temperature. It's risen very nicely, and you see lots of gluten strands forming. And you also see the importance of oiling this shower cap. This now goes in the refrigerator for 2 additional hours. The beautiful thing about this dough is it can remain in the refrigerator for up to 7 days. During the course of its time in the refrigerator, it will rise and fall. So we are going to let time do the kneading for us. Our dough has been in the refrigerator for 4 days. That's the wonderful thing about this dough. It can remain in the refrigerator up to a week. As it sits in the refrigerator, it rises and falls. And the longer it sits, the tangier of a flavor it develops. I'm going to show you how to make 3 different loaves of bread with this. So let's look at this. Lots of gluten formation. Now you can buy all sorts of tools for bread making, like a bench knife. This is my drywall knife. So when I patch walls before I paint, I use this, and it also works great as a bench knife. Dividing this into 3 pieces. We're going to bake this one as a round loaf in a Dutch oven, and it's going to come out with a very crusty outside. I'm going to just take and fold this over onto itself. We don't have to knead this. I'm just gently folding it onto itself until we get a nice round shape. So you take this out about 90 minutes before you want to bake it. Nothing fancy to this at all. I'm going to place this in a Dutch oven on a piece of parchment paper. You don't have to use a Dutch oven. You can use any kind of baker, but I'm going to show you how we bake it up in the Dutch oven For our next piece, I'm going to shape it into a loaf, a long loaf. So I'll get some flour on there. And then I'm going to stretch this. Just stretch it out. Flatten it with the heel of your palm. Fold it over like an envelope. Take your knuckles and mash it. And now pick it up, push it. And that's how we get the basic loaf shape. So I like to cover it in flour. I'm going to bake this on a pizza stone. Now for our third loaf, I'm going to knead in some cheese and some jalapeno peppers. So this is the last third of our dough. And you just don't have to do anything special with this. It doesn't have to look a certain way. Just do the best you can. It's a wonderful crusty white loaf, and it's very easy. I'm just going to flatten this out a little. Now I'm using 1 seeded and chopped jalapeno, a fresh one, and about 4 ounces of cubed sharp cheddar cheese. Now that's a lot of cheese, and we may have some sticking out all over. So I'm going to pull up this corner and fold it onto itself. Up over. Some extra flour. This corner up. Now you see, it doesn't look pretty right now. But it's okay. It's not so much how it looks to me as how it tastes. Working with bread, there's a lot of variables. Temperature, humidity. So I'm going to cover this side here. And now I'm just going to roll it on itself again and again and again. This is the best no-knead crusty white bread dough that I use. I just adore it. I really do. I just push those pieces in there. Now you can use a combination of any sort of cheese. Feta cheese and olives would be great. With all of these loaves, you want to lightly dust them with some flour so they don't dry out while they're sitting and rising. They could rise anywhere from 60 minutes to a couple hours depending on the temperature. So there's our first loaf, our second loaf, and our third loaf with the jalapeno and cheese. We are going to let these sit at room temperature. Okay, let's have a look at our loaves. They have been sitting for a little over 2 hours. What you see is they don't so much rise upward as they expand outward. We're going to bake these in a 450-degree oven on the middle rack. I'm going to place them both on a preheated pizza stone. So this was greased plastic wrap. You can slice them, and what you don't want is what just happened. You don't really want to slide across the bread, but sometimes that does happen. You want to make slashes about a ½ inch deep. So I made 2 slashes in this loaf. The reason is the dough is holding a lot of gas, and when it hits this hot oven, that gas is going to try to escape, and this provides it a place to escape without random little pockets coming out everywhere. This dough actually is a little puffier and firmer because we kneaded it a little bit when we were incorporating the cheese and the jalapenos. Let's transfer this one. There. Now you can bake these on a regular baking sheet or right on the oven rack. One last step we're going to do. You see I have a metal pan in here. I'm going to pour water that I have microwaved. I want that steam and I want to close it. Now while those two loaves are on the pizza stone baking, we're going to get our round loaf ready. And this one we are going to cook in a Dutch oven. When you place a bread in the Dutch oven to bake, you need to preheat the Dutch oven for 30 minutes. I don't have enough oven space to do all of these loaves at the same time and use the Dutch oven for one. So we're going to hold off and do that one last. In the meantime, let's go ahead and see if we can score this. I'm going to go across the top and just go across there as quickly as you can. We'll cross in front of this one, and I can't wait to bake it. The Dutch oven makes this no-knead crusty white bread even crustier and chewier. And the reason is, by cooking in the Dutch oven, we're retaining the steam from the bread. There's a lot of water in the dough. By placing it in the Dutch oven or some other similar type of baker, it traps that moisture and that steam. With our two loaves that are in the oven, what I did was put a metal pan, not ceramic, not glass, metal. Put a metal pan in the bottom, and I added a cup of boiling water that I had microwaved. And I slammed the door on that because that just instantly created steam, and once again, that helps make that chewy crust. Now, obviously baking in the oven, the steam isn't captured as well as it is in the Dutch oven. And so that's why I want to show you how it looks if we use the Dutch oven. Many people may have a stone bakeware that they can use, but this is a very high temperature oven, 450 degrees. So you really need to follow your manufacturer's instructions and determine if the vessel you're using can withstand that kind of heat. We'll be back when our other two loaves come out of the oven in about 25 minutes. Now that is going to be one delicious bread. I love those little crispy pieces of cheese that kind of toasted themselves. Let's see if they're ready. They've been in for 30 minutes. And this one got a little cheese on them. Look at that, beautiful. What makes this dough so beautiful is you have enough dough to make 3 wonderful loaves. It stays in the refrigerator for up to 7 days. I left this in for 4 days before I removed it and shaped it. So we've got one plain loaf and a loaf with jalapeno and cheddar. And our third loaf is about to go in, the one that we shaped round. We're going to let these cool. They need to cool for at least 30 minutes before you slice into them. Otherwise the internal texture is gummy. So we want to let them cool. I mixed up some more of this recipe, and I'm using about 1,000 grams of the dough. And I'm going to show you what this looks like when we put it in the Dutch oven or some other sort of baker. I'm going to go ahead and score this. You want a really sharp knife. Very hot, preheating to 450. Let's spray the inside of this with a vegetable oil-based spray. Now I have a small piece of parchment paper under there, and I'm going to leave it. So in the oven this goes for about 25 minutes with the cover, and then we'll remove the cover for 5 to 10 minutes. And so beautiful. Let's slice into this. That is a nice slice of bread. Remember to remove the lid for the last 10 minutes from your baker if you want a nice crusty exterior. I can't tell you how easy this recipe is. This recipe is just friendly to anyone. If you're a beginning baker, if you're a beginning bread maker, you can't go wrong with this recipe. There's no kneading, no special equipment. All you need is flour, water, salt, and yeast. So let's slice into some of this bread. This is the jalapeno cheddar. It has a beautiful crumb. It's a beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. You can add anything you want into this bread. I'm showing you today how to add in the cheddar and the jalapenos. Put in whatever kind of cheese, whatever add-ins you want. Make it into cinnamon raisin loaf. This bread crust really got crusty. We baked this one in the Dutch oven and it had been preheated to 450 degrees for half an hour. And what that does is captures the steam inside that Dutch oven and it yields a really crusty loaf. Listen to that. It's so easy to make this artisan type, no knead crusty white bread. I hope you'll give it a try.